why does Venus consider the moon to be an enemy? According to your book, Volume 1, those planets seem to have compatible agendas. The moon, when waxing, is benefic. Venus is benefic. Both planets have feminine energy. The moon is a karaka for the 4th house, mother, home, vehicles. Venus for the 7th house, relationships, spouse, diplomacy. The YouTube video Secrets of Planetary Dignity 2016, Ryan says, Venus is neutral to the moon. I'm confused. Are Venus and the moon ever enemies? Okay, so I don't remember. It's been over a year since I did that video. So I don't remember exactly what you're referring to there. It might have been that I was talking about dignity, which could have had Venus and the moon situated such that they were maybe neutral to each other. Venus, when it comes to planetary friendships, is neutral to the moon, which means that Venus itself is neither going out of its way to support the moon in its agendas, nor is it going out of the way to hamper the moon's agendas. So Venus to the moon can be helpful, or it can be neutral, depending on how it's situated within the chart. However, the moon is an enemy to Venus. There is a chart in the Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 1, that looks like this. Hopefully that's coming through and it's not flipping it around in a weird way. I keep this, I've always kept this on my desk above my computer, just so I would memorize it. And I've never lost it for some reason. Despite all the little rearrangements and moves and desk cleanups, this has always been right here on my desk because I find it extremely helpful. And why is the moon an enemy to Venus? Well, it's the same reason that the moon is an enemy to any planet. And the moon happens to be an enemy to Saturn. The moon happens to be an enemy to Mercury. The moon happens to be an enemy to Venus. And why is this the case? Well, the moon represents the soul of ourself. And in that idea, I mean soul as in the conglomeration of who we think we are. You know, the real soul that you really can't even talk about has no attributes. That's more like the sun. That's what the sun is on this side of experience. The sun is as close as you can get to somewhat of a description of what the real soul is. But even that is not the thing because it's still a concept. But the moon is our sense of individualized. So like, oh, my soul has gone through multiple lifetimes. What does that mean? That means that my preference for this kind of music has followed me through this many lifetimes. My preference for this kind of food, my tendency towards anger, my tendency towards having certain friends, my tendency to want to accomplish these certain things. That's like the idea of soul, if you will. It's those tendencies that follow us through. And the moon, it is an enemy to Venus in that when the moon influences Venus, we tend to overly identify with Mercurial, Venusian, and Saturn things, and that tends to give us a deep experience of pain due to that attachment. Because when moon is influencing Venus, we tend to think that we're going to get all of our needs met through our partner, through our relationship, through love, through luxury. And we know, studying simple Buddhist traditions, that that's not going to pan out. It doesn't work that way. So it causes us problems, which is why the moon is considered to be an enemy to Venus. It causes problems on our chart. Same thing with moon relating to Saturn, influencing Saturn. Well, then all we're looking at is what Saturn represents, which is the problems, which is the difficulties, which is the hardships. And yes, it is important to realize that there are hardships, there are difficulties, there are things that all of us are going to have to go through that we wish we didn't have to go through. But if that's all you're focused on, that totally ruins your life. And maybe you know people like that, maybe you're like that. And you have to learn to work on these sorts of things. So these are general ideas as to why Venus, Mercury, and Saturn, for example, are enemies to, excuse me, the moon is an enemy to Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. And we've concluded the first year. I'm pretty sure this person, that you've concluded the first year, and we went over how we calculate dignity, like why dignity is the way it is. So I would encourage you to go back through your notes and review those things, just to get a sense of why dignity is the way it is. But if you want some more insights into the specifics about how these planets impact each other, that will come up in the second course in the second year of the apprenticeship track, which deals with planetary states and planetary relationships. But you can also get a sense of that before that by going to The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2, that book, and reading the chapter on the Logitati of Ashtas. So you have some resources which will ideally answer that question for you.